In my last video here on YouTube, which you can check out here, I talked about the importance of learning photography on an SLR versus a digital camera. I got some comments that, kind of heavily disagreed with me. I still stand by what I say. So this video, I wanted to show you some behind the scenes of why I believe the SLR or the film camera is a great way to get introduced into the medium of photography through things like physical media, like archiving and printmaking. Hi, my name is Jared Thomas Tapey. I'm a social documentary photographer and educator here in New York City, and you're watching the YouTube channel. Across my social media platforms, I've created 6 different segments, each of which pertain to something distinct within the medium of photography. Crafting a photograph, life through the lens, March of the Maker, the creative connection, tools of the trade, and field notes. Since the last lesson was from tools of the trade, I wanted to piggyback off that, so this one is also from tools of the trade. The segment dedicated to the tools, experiences, and brands that elevate the artist's journey. Like I said in my last video, I'm no film purist, but I do think that shooting film offers something that digital photography simply doesn't. And that is the physical aspect of being able to hold something tangible that has to do with your work, whether it be contact sheets, prints, or your actual negative archive. A few days ago, my negatives were just piling up on my desk, and they needed to be archived in a way that's organized so that whenever I need to make prints, I have a system in place that's easily accessible. That way I can go back and look through the dates, where they were shot, and what type of film I was using. So first up in this video is going to be a little inside look at what my archive process looks like. So I've been putting this off for way too long. I've got rolls going back from January just sitting in their sleeves. Some of them just like in little plastic canisters and loose all over the place. It's been a mess, but today we're fixing that. So while I'm organizing, I want to talk about why this matters, because I think a lot of film shooters, especially when you're starting out, kind of treat your negatives like a piece of shit, honestly. You get them back from the lab and you just kind of toss the sleeve in a drawer somewhere, and I think that that's a mistake. Your negatives are the original. Point blank period. The scan you get back from the lab, whether that's a basic scan or a high res, it's still just a file. Files can get corrupt, hard drives can fail, phones get wiped, but a well-stored negative, that thing can last over 100 years if you treat it right. Think about that. There are photographers from the 1930s whose negatives are still being printed from today. That's insane. But it's also not even just about preservation for some distant future. It's like the practical stuff too. Say you shot a couple rolls years ago and you want to go back and reprint something. Maybe you've gotten better at scanning, or you just want to make a darkroom print for the first time. If your negatives are just loose in a pile somewhere, good luck finding the right frame. But if you've got them organized by date, by roll number, by project and location, whatever system works for you, you can pull exactly what you need to in like 2 minutes. And then there's also something that happens when you actually engage with your archive, like going through old rolls and sleeving them properly. You just kind of end up looking at frames you forgot existed, and some of them are actually pretty good that you just kind of missed over the first time. And then some of the ones that you dismissed at the time because you were fixated on a different frame from the same roll, all of a sudden get a new life. An organized archive isn't just storage, it's kind of like having a conversation with your past self. Having the negatives now finally organized and in a nice and complete way, I headed over to my film club, Nice Film Club here in Brooklyn, to go meet up with printmaker Ian Shiff. I've only recently started printing my work. In fact, you can go and check out my very first color print process here, so that you can see some of the behind the scenes of that first image. But this time around, I was able to really sit down inside of the darkroom with Ian and have him go through all of the steps in which it's necessary to make a complete color print. The world of printing and scanning and developing my own work is pretty much foreign to me. Having a good relationship with the film club that you go and get your film developed at just creates a better workflow, especially for somebody that shoots high volume like me. I know that I can trust them to do the work that I want produced, and they know that I'm always going to be there. But it's not like I'm just not interested in it. It's still very interesting to learn about these processes, and I like having the knowledge. It's just I don't want to do it. Now, I've talked about printmaking a little bit in the very first video that I did. Again, you can see it right here, about the importance of collaboration between a printmaker and the photographer. When we think about the photographic medium of the history, I often feel as if the printer is often left out of that conversation. And that's because every image that you see was edited by a printer at some point. Very rarely does an image come out of the camera exactly how you would see it in print. So this next portion is Ian Shiff, the printmaker at Nice Film Club, breaking down the science and the steps necessary to create color prints. We ended up making 4 prints that day, so you'll be able to see some behind the scenes of all 4 of them. All right,
What am I doing?
well, we're gonna introduce ourselves. So today I'm in the dark room with Ian Shiff. Ian Shiff is my only printmaker. Ian is the wizard here at Nice Film Club, and today we're gonna be doing an interview with him, printing off some work, and you guys are gonna get to learn from what I consider a master printmaker. I've only recently started printing my work, so I want to be able to provide as much information as possible. Ian, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ian Shiff. I'm a darkroom printer here at Nice Film Club. I also run the printing darkroom. Outside of that, I also do photography in the world of music and portraits and stuff. But nice, I do a lot of printing.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get into it. So this is the entire archive so far for the year of 2026. Ta-da! Let's look through. So we selected 4 prints today. The first one that we're going to do is my pigeon shot.
Pigeon shot, okay. I'm excited.
That is this one right here.
Cool. So printing this pigeon shot right here, you can actually see it on the light table. So what I'm gonna do is first take it out of the sleeve. I'm going to lay the negative into our custom carrier. Shout out Andreas. We have these aligning guides in these, which are super nice.
Are these standard or are these 3D printed?
These are the 3D printed custom ones that Andreas designed.
Word.
Hand this to you. So put the negative in the carrier, just align it roughly, and then what I do is I grab a little bit of paper tape, and I will, in this case, because we're doing it with clean edges, I can tape on the sprockets and not have any tape show up in the print. So I'm gonna just align it again. And that holds it flat and also holds it in place so there's no movement, just like that. Then I'm gonna toss this top plate on, and this also holds the negative flat. It's all together by magnets. And then I take our duster, and this guy is really powerful, gets all the dust off, or most of it, and then I just do a visual inspection, grab my microfiber, because there's a little bit of dust that's sticking, a little bit right there. I'd rather get this off now than have them on every single print. So, taking our negative now in the carrier, then toss it in the enlarger, and then close the enlarger so that way it makes everything seal flat until it doesn't leak out of this gap. From there, we're going to focus and compose our image. All right, so for focusing and composing, first thing I do is what size do you want to print?
I have these.
You want to do 11 by 14? Heard. Okay, let me take a look. Let me just measure what this is roughly. Okay. What is the image size? Because the roll of paper that we cut off of is 12 inch wide. So I'm gonna get my 12 by 14 paper reference. The enlarger isn't too high, the enlarger isn't too low. It's easy to dodge. It's easiest to dodge and burn, I find. And the image isn't so big that the exposure time takes too long or too short. I find it's like my Goldilocks size.
Why is it easier to dodge and burn?
Because as the enlarger gets higher or lower than 11 by 14 roughly, I find that the projection becomes big enough where you have to place your hand in just like weird spots, or the dodger or burner in different spots that are gonna be a little more tricky to just get the dodge and burn right, especially if you're doing the hole.
Right.
So dodge and burn something in the middle. So stuff like that. I think that's exactly right. And then I can focus and compose the image. So what I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna turn off the big overhead. I'm gonna leave the light table on though. This just makes the room dim so I can see the negative easier. I'm gonna set my enlarger from print to focus, and that removes all filtration from the light path, so it's a little bit brighter. Actually, I'll show you what that looks like first. Look just a little bit. I'm gonna set my enlarger to focus. First, check the aperture, make sure it's wide open. Then I'm gonna adjust focus roughly, get it roughly in place. And then this is the difference between print and focus. So this is in print, focus. It makes it a little brighter, makes it a little easier to see. So I'm gonna leave it in focus. Then I'm gonna start roughly composing my image. So I'm gonna bring it a little smaller than the actual frame size first. And then question for you. Would you rather me raise the enlarger a little bit like this, so that way it is like that, and it will crop off a little bit of the edges? Cool.
Because
then it'll be perfect size for the mat.
yeah.
Cool. Tiny bit. Focus again. That's about good. So I turn off the focuser after I get my focus and composition roughly in line. And I do that because this is a 250 watt incandescent bulb. So it gets extremely hot extremely fast. Even though there's a fan inside the enlarger, it's good to not overheat the bulb in the head. It prolongs the lifespan, makes everything work better. You get like very precise focus on the actual grain of the image. Open up the mirror, turn that back on, make sure my column is locked. And then I'm gonna look in here, I'm gonna get the focus just right.
Whoa.
So I'm not actually looking at the reticle, I'm looking past the reticle at the grain, because the reticle is actually sharper than the grain will be. It'll, at least in the focusing. That's in focus, turn that off. And now we're all set, except I need to set my enlarger back from focus to print. That moves the glass filters for adjusting color back into the light path. I need to set my aperture. I usually start for color at f8 or f11 on this lens. So this is a 50. So I'm gonna start at f8. I'm gonna take my dummy paper that I use for getting my composition, put that back, and we can make our first test strip. Timer over here, I'm gonna set it to 2 seconds. So that way, each interval that I make on the test strip is 1, 2, then block off a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more.
Word.
So the first test strip came out. It is extremely blue with a little bit of cyan, but more so leaning dominant blue. Each of them are 2-second increments. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm good at math. So what I'm doing when I make a test strip is I'm going over to the enlarger. I am using the foot pedal, doing 2-second exposure, and then I'm covering up part of the image, doing another 2-second exposure, covering up a little bit more, another 2 seconds, until I get all the way across the frame. That way I have basically an exposure band, so I can see what 2 seconds, what 4 seconds, what 6 seconds, and so on looks like. But what's important to know is that because it's a negative, you're projecting a negative onto a negative film or paper in this case. The exposure is inversed, so less time will make the image brighter, more time will make the image darker. So, and that's how we get to that. So over here we have our test strip, which came out of the processor. We have a 2-second band here, which is really faint and hard to see, but that's what only 2 seconds from the enlarger does. And 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, and 14 seconds. So that is, this lets us kind of see a range of what different exposures might look like. From starting out of these settings, I can already tell I need to adjust my color balance. So I'm gonna grab my color preview filters right here. And this gives me CMY and RGB adjustment values that I can use filters for to kind of preview what changes I have to make. So this is leaning kind of royal blue, which is maybe, there's a little bit of green in there maybe, but it's hard to tell. So I'm gonna start by adding a mix of yellow and red. I have to do this individually, you can't stack the filters. But basically I'm gonna start with red, I'm gonna take a look, and I flash these filters in front of my eyes, not for too long because your eyes adjust very quickly. Based on the light, this is probably like 3 or 4 o'clock? Yellow.
Yes, correct. This was taken out like basically midday, actually.
Heard, okay. Making it 6 points more yellow and 2 points more magenta. What that'll do is that'll essentially, to create red, you rarely ever actually use the cyan filter on the enlarger. You use magenta and yellow in conjunction with one another to create cyan and red. So what I'm gonna do is by subtracting 6 yellow and 2 magenta, that is like subtracting, that's like adding 6 yellow and 2 red.
Word.
I'm gonna start by subtracting 6 yellow, which is just like that. So I'm starting at 50, so now we're at 44. And then I'm gonna subtract 2 magenta. And this is also a little bit backwards mentally because because it's a negative printing process, subtracting yellow from this filtration will actually add yellow to the print. And if you add yellow, it'll add blue. And same with all the other ones. So adding magenta adds green, subtracting magenta adds magenta, adding cyan adds red, subtracting cyan adds cyan.
Wow.
I'm gonna leave cyan at 0 generally, and I leave it as a last resort. We generally don't touch cyan unless we have to because cyan affects the density a lot more, and you'll generally be chasing around your exposure a lot more if you adjust cyan as well. It's not necessarily bad, But like usually on tungsten balance prints that aren't shot with a warming filter or that are shot under certain lighting conditions like daylight, I'll definitely have to use cyan.
Okay.
Because I'll run out of yellow.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
yeah, for this one, we did 14 seconds f11. It looks a little bit better color-wise. I definitely like the exposure. I might go like a 1/10 of a second brighter just to add a little bit more brightness. The color is still definitely too blue, so I just made another one of a similar adjustment. I added, or rather subtracted 6 more points yellow and 1 more point magenta, so it'll add just a tiny bit of red and mostly yellow, and that should counteract this kind of blue wash. It might be a little too much, but we'll find out on the next test strip.
Word.
So, next print is this one.
Birds.
Birds, amen. What was I thinking? So, I definitely want it to be a little warmer, but I do kind of feel like we're kind of approaching where I want it to be in terms of color balance. Like the building is reflecting blue off the sky is blue. The bird is becoming yellow, which is good.
Yeah, you can really tell that's quite silver blue, and then that's much warmer.
Yeah, I might add like 1 more point of yellow to that. So subtracting a point of yellow rather. Besides that, I feel like I'm ready to do a full print just to kind of see what the whole image looks like, and then from there dodge and burn.
Heard.
Maybe a little too magenta. I kind of think it's hard to tell. Let me just see what a green filter looks like. I think it's like 1.2 green.
Guys, I'm getting flashbacks.
Or too magenta,
time we
rather.
did this together.
Came a long way. I don't know. I kind of like the colors.
I do like the colors, but I feel like
Honestly, I think maybe if the eye was like a little brighter.
yeah, I can do that. So
Maybe just to make that. I love the orange on it.
I also kind of want to do like thinking for a second before I say it. I kind of want to do.
Do you crop it?
No. What I kind of want to do is also maybe like burn this corner. I'll leave everything else dodge there.
I would love to be able to like have this be focused,
Okay.
and then kind of
Darker. Or
so that this really
Done.
separates
Can do.
from the back.
It won't be like a perfect.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
because
of
it's
course.
on the shadow puppets.
Of
but
course,
but,
of course.
I can do a revision like that.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
this like is the and
Oh
like
yeah, done.
in there make that dark, that eye kind of brighter.
Do you want me to make it so it's like just the head is like this stays about as bright as it is?
You do.
And then just the head gets a little brighter.
Whatever you think is gonna look
I'm
best.
gonna do that. Cool.
Yeah,
I love the orange on the eye.
yeah, it's sick.
It's so cool.
So now I'm doing some kind of practicing essentially. I'm kind of seeing like which dodger I should use and how I should dodge. So in this case, it'll be probably like if this is a 13.8 second exposure on base, the dodge is subtracting time to make it brighter. So I'm probably going to subtract. I'm looking at my test strip here. Probably going to subtract 3 seconds on this. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I pull it out so that way it kind of creates a more feathered shadow for that last second. For the burn, I'm going to use one of these full sheets, and I'm kind of create like a mask around the bird while I print, and so it's going to make all of this a bit darker. And yeah, so we have a next print. This one has been dodged and burned. So birds. I think it's cool. I think I like the dodge. I definitely like the dodge and burn. You can kind of see all the differences making. I think it definitely feels burned. Like it's not the most transparent thing, but it does kind of emphasize the bird.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think?
The bird is definitely like compared to this. That's definitely lighter.
This one, right?
Correct.
So all that this is essentially just me recording any settings that I put into the enlarger, and kind of anything I should know if I needed to recreate this print, how would I do it, or what's a good starting point. So I'm gonna start with cyan 0 because that's what cyan is. Then I'm gonna go over to here. Magenta is 47. Yellow is 37. The time is 13.8. The f-stop was 11 at 50 millimeters.
That was the printing process behind creating 4 color prints of my work here. Some recent, some further back ago, maybe like a few months ago. Obviously, a lot of people know the pigeon shot. That seems to be a lot of people's favorites. So I got to print off one of those. One of my more recent favorite ones was the one of the girl holding her grandmother's hand as she used the chalk to outline it. And then one of my favorite shots is the girl looking into the mirror on 5th Avenue, as well as the woman in red with the cheetah print on 5th Avenue. If you have any interest in getting prints made, go ahead and check out Nice Film Club. They're one of 4 to 6 different film clubs or film labs here in New York City that do color printing at a pretty affordable price. Not to mention, if you're looking for development or to pick up some film, you can use my code NFCJared right here to get 10% off your order. All in all, the physical aspect of film has helped me change who I am as a photographer because it's so much more tangible and real. Being able to look at a contact sheet and see all the mistakes that I made in a very selected sort of manner helped me learn different things about myself as it pertains to the way that I'm shooting while out in the street. That same sort of examination process is a lot harder, at least for me, to do on Lightroom, especially when my shots aren't limited. As I've grown older in this craft, the thought of legacy comes to mind a lot more. Not so much in the egotistical sense, but in something that I can leave behind and show the world the way that I saw it. If not for anybody else, maybe just for me. Being able to go back through my negatives and flip through and see the way that I saw the world in those moments and have it be tangible and something that I can actually look through, or my contact sheets, has started to make me appreciate the craft at a higher level than I would if I was just flipping through digital files on a hard drive. I'd say that the biggest tip for anybody that's just starting off their archive is to do it as soon as you get your negatives or as soon as you get your contact sheets or prints. Having these things build up can be kind of strenuous on the back end if you're not taking care of it in the first place. And having the physical media of a photograph that you made being printed out and literally created out of nothing but light is really, really interesting internally. I don't really know how to describe it unless you've done the same, which is why I think that everybody that does this craft should do it. I hope that you learned something interesting about the printmaking process and about photography and film photography in general. You can find me on Instagram at Jared Tapey, at Substack, at The Creative Connection, as well as obviously here on YouTube. I think that's going to be it for today's video, so get out there, get shooting, and keep moving forward. I'll see you on the next one.